something explosive has just crashed back into the Meghan Markle timeline, and this time the whispers are louder than ever because the latest claim is not about rumors on social media, not about gossip blogs trying to stir chaos, but about what some people are calling a leaked school transcript. That allegedly shows details that simply do not match the carefully repeated story the world has heard for years. And the moment that document supposedly surfaced, the entire age debate that many thought had faded quietly into the background suddenly reignited with shocking intensity. Because when a transcript enters the conversation, people stop arguing about opinions and start asking about numbers, dates, and records that should not change. For years, the official story has sounded clean, smooth, and perfectly aligned. August 4th, 1981. That date has appeared everywhere. Interviews, biographies, documentaries, royal introductions, and even during the global spectacle of the royal wedding in 2018 when commentators repeated the number like a fact carved in stone. 36 years old. The math worked. The timeline looked polished. Nothing seemed out of place. But critics of the timeline never completely disappeared. They waited, quietly collecting odd fragments from the past, small inconsistencies that individually looked harmless but together created a pattern that some people found impossible to ignore. And then suddenly, this new claim appeared online, an alleged transcript connected to Meghan's early education years, a document that, according to those spreading it, contains enrollment information and graduation dates that seem to raise uncomfortable questions. Now here is where the tension explodes, because if the widely repeated 1981 birth year is accurate, then the timeline of school progression, high school completion, and later university graduation fits neatly into place. The story flows like a straight road from childhood to Northwestern University to Hollywood auditions. But if the transcript circulating online is real, critics argue that the numbers might suggest a different pace, a different sequence of school years that would imply she was older during certain stages than the public record suggests. And suddenly, the same old question comes roaring back with new energy. Was the public timeline simply polished for storytelling, or are these resurfacing records being misunderstood? Hollywood insiders have quietly admitted for decades that age is one of the most sensitive details in the entertainment industry, especially for actresses navigating early careers. Youth sells. Youth opens doors. Casting directors scan birth years the way producers scan budgets. 1 year might not matter. 2 years might barely raise eyebrows. But if the difference stretches across several years, the narrative surrounding someone's career suddenly looks very different. Think about it. When Meghan appeared on Deal or No Deal in 2006, the common timeline suggested she was in her mid-20s, a young actress grinding through the system like thousands of others hoping for a break. The image made sense. The story felt relatable. But critics of the timeline say that if the birth year were earlier, the meaning of that moment changes dramatically. Instead of a mid-20s newcomer chasing opportunity, the picture shifts towards someone already pushing into their 30s, still waiting for the big break. And in Hollywood, perception can be everything. But the alleged transcript leak is not the only piece of this puzzle. The age debate has been haunted for years by one strange artifact from the past. The March 1997 issue of a teen magazine that reportedly listed Meghan Markle's age as 21. That single printed number has been analyzed, debated, dismissed, resurrected, and examined again and again. Because if the 1981 birth date is correct, Meghan would have been only 15 in March of 1997. 15 versus 21. Those two numbers belong to completely different chapters of life. Supporters insist the magazine simply made a mistake. Editors misprint details all the time. Deadlines are tight. Information can be misheard. That explanation sounds reasonable. But skeptics point out that when a mistake appears in print, someone had to supply the information before it reached the page. And that is why this story refuses to disappear. Every time a new piece of information surfaces, whether it is an old photograph, an archived article, or now this alleged transcript, the same tension resurfaces. The timeline looks perfectly consistent from a distance, yet certain fragments from the past keep floating back into view like puzzle pieces that do not quite snap into place, which raises a haunting possibility. What if the timeline everyone accepted for years was not exactly wrong, but carefully simplified? What if certain details were adjusted slightly, polished gently, or rearranged to make the story flow more smoothly? Right now, the alleged transcript circulating online has not been officially verified. No institution has publicly confirmed it. No document has been authenticated beyond screenshots screenshots shared by commentators and gossip channels. But the damage to the calm surface of the narrative has already been done, because once people begin comparing dates, numbers, and timelines, curiosity spreads fast. And now the biggest question hanging over this entire situation is simple. If a transcript really exists that contradicts the widely accepted timeline, who supplied the original numbers in the first place? And this is where the conversation shifts from quiet curiosity to something far more intense, because the moment that alleged transcript began circulating in corners of the internet, the reaction was immediate and dramatic. Suddenly, forums, gossip channels, and royal watchers were dissecting every year of Meghan Markle's early life like investigators studying a timeline that might hold a hidden gap. Screenshots appeared comparing enrollment dates, graduation windows, and reported ages, and while none of those pieces on their own proved anything definitive, together they created a storm of speculation that refused to settle. What made the moment even more explosive was the timing. The rumor did not appear during a quiet period. It surfaced at a moment when Meghan's public presence has once again been climbing into headlines through media projects, interviews, and renewed discussions about the Sussex brand. In the world of celebrity narratives, timing can amplify a story far beyond its original scale. And when critics noticed that this alleged transcript seemed to hint at a slightly different educational timeline, the immediate question became unavoidable. If school years were different than expected, what else in the official chronology might shift along with them? Because when you adjust one date, the ripple spreads outward. School graduation moves, university entry shifts, career milestones land at different ages. Even relationships and early Hollywood opportunities start to look slightly different under that new light. Suddenly, people were revisiting moments from Meghan's past that had long been considered settled facts. Her years at Northwestern University, the early acting auditions in Los Angeles, the deal or no deal period that introduced her to television audiences. Each event still happened exactly as recorded, but critics began asking whether the ages attached to those moments had always been exactly what the public believed. Of course, supporters of Meghan Markle have pushed back strongly against the rumor, pointing out that anonymous documents and internet screenshots are not reliable evidence, and they argue that the resurfacing of these claims often follows a predictable cycle whenever Meghan returns to the spotlight. According to that view, the so-called transcript leak is simply another attempt to revive an old conspiracy built on misunderstandings, editing errors, and the internet's endless appetite for controversy. But in the strange ecosystem of celebrity gossip, even unverified claims can gain momentum if they intersect with older mysteries that were never fully resolved. And that is exactly why this story refuses to disappear. Because long before this alleged transcript ever appeared online, there were already small questions floating through the background of Meghan's timeline. The strange magazine listing from the late 1990s that printed her age as 21. The campus photographs that some critics believed showed her among peers who appeared older than the official timeline would suggest. The quiet absence of firm clarifications whenever the topic resurfaced. None of those elements alone rewrote the story. Yet together, they created just enough uncertainty for rumors to keep returning every few years like a tide that never fully retreats. And now, this supposed transcript has added another layer to that pattern. Some observers claim it could simply be misinterpreted paperwork. Others insist it might belong to a completely different student whose details were confused online. Without verification, the truth remains buried somewhere beyond the noise. But the fascinating part of this controversy is not just the document itself, it is the way the public reacts whenever a new fragment appears. Because Meghan Markle's life has always existed under a microscope, unlike almost any other celebrity. Actress, activist, royal bride, global media figure. Every phase of her story has been examined through competing narratives, supporters defending her journey while critics question the way that journey has been presented. And in that environment, even a simple school record can explode into a worldwide debate about credibility and image. For now, the official record has not changed. August 4th, 1981 remains the documented birth date repeated across biographies and public records. No verified institution has confirmed the alleged transcript circulating online, yet the conversation continues to ripple outward because curiosity has a powerful momentum of its own. The internet remembers everything, and when fragments from the past collide with new rumors, they create stories that linger long after the headlines fade, which leaves one final, unsettling question hanging in the air. If the timeline is exactly as it has always been presented, why do these scattered pieces keep resurfacing again and again, each time drawing millions of eyes back to the same simple mystery that refuses to fully disappear?